4:45. It's been a long day, I can't take any more. I gotta get away, head down the track with a full head of steam and no looking back.
Today we're going to learn how to program the Walthers 130-foot turntable. Alright, couple things I want to go over first. The instructions tell you not to let any dirt get into the pit. They're not joking. I can't emphasize this enough. You get one speck of ballast or dirt of ballast size or smaller, like a piece of sand, on that little gear track that runs around in the pit. And when that turntable hits it, it will jump up. Sometimes it'll come to a dead halt, and it just won't go any farther. Other times it'll jump up, and when it lands, it'll be off a couple fractions of an inch, and you'll have to reprogram the whole turntable. Now, while that is kind of a pain, it's nowhere near as hard as Walthers' instructions will lead you to believe. We'll get into that in a minute. I want to show you something I got that helps me keep my turntable clean. This little bugger here is a USB powered vacuum cleaner. It's pretty cool. When it gets full, you just pull the end off and dump the poop out. Put it back on. It's got a nice little, well, it looks like heat shrink tubing, but it does work nice because it's soft, and I can vacuum inside my pit nice, and especially that little track or gear rail that's in there. Like I said, you get a speck of dust, it'll kind of mess it up. Okay, at this point, we're going to throw the instructions for the programming the turntable by Walthers away. It's nowhere near as hard as they tell you it is. They want to make it difficult. Now, I'm going to show you some things first. When you remove your turntable, you want to be careful. You probably already know that the railing is real delicate. There's a couple things in here that you don't ever touch. There's a spinning wheel here. It's a Hall effect sensor. This shaft, or these gears, we don't ever spin them. Ever. Sometimes you'll get a rock stuck in there. And the way we clean those without spinning them, we take a screwdriver, like so, and we simply slide it through. See, I got all kinds of crud in mine. I just cleaned it the other day. Look at that hair. That's some serious gook we got in there. Anyway, that's how you clean it. To get to the part that you can't reach, you put it back in and spin it. Look at the crap I got in there. Yuck. All right, if I spin that shaft at all, even a fraction of an inch, it's enough to throw the turntable off. Now, when I put the turntable back in, there is absolutely no hope of getting the tracks lined up perfectly. But rest assured, that's not a problem. You're not going to have to reprogram it. What you are going to have to do is to zero it out. And that means it's going to spin around, and it's going to find the sensor. On mine, I mounted the sensor right here under the first track. So it's going to spin around and find that. So in order to zero it, look down at my little control. The top button here is 0, or no, that is set, and the bottom one is 0. I keep getting them wrong. So what I'm going to do to zero it is I'm going to hold the 0 button until I get a blinky light. I'm going to let go. The lock light came off, and now the turntable will was real close to being center from where I had it. We're going to move it again. I'm moving it by holding the button, let go. Now it's set itself up at the next track. Now if I hit the 0 button, it's going to go through the whole process. Because usually this is what it'll do. It'll spin one complete 360-degree circle, and then it'll stop when the non-operator house side, or the B side, finds that sensor. I would have thought they would have put that house on the A side. But for all intents and purposes, we're going to call the A side the side without the operator shaft. Again, while it's turning, remember you're going to have to clean your table. Do not allow ballast to get in there. It's a real pain. And if you remove the table, like you're ballasting around it, take and put a couple pieces of tape over that opening where the turntable fits down in. There's a set of contacts in there that you really don't want them to get dirty. I found the the turntable to be quite reliable. I have had to reprogram it because, being the idiot that I am, I've pulled it out. And remember those wheels and shaft I told you not to turn? Well, I done did that. And promptly ended up reprogramming all my stalls. With my bad eyesight, it takes me about an hour and a half to program it. If you can get closer or you got better eyesight, it won't take you anywhere near as long. So again, right now it's zeroing, and as soon as it gets done zeroing, we'll go over programming the stall. In fact, what I'll do is I'll unprogram one of mine and program it back up. So what we'll do here now is we'll fast forward it to save some time. And there she is. When she centers herself like that, she's lining up the end of the turntable that does not have the operator shack in it. That's the end that has the sensor and the gear and all that wonderful stuff in it. But it's lining it up with a sensor that's on the back side of the turntable wall that you can't see. And that's how it knows the starting point. So it's important to do that before you program anything. Doesn't matter where your tracks are, that's the best way to do it. So, right now it's real hard to see, and I can zoom in, but I know it's not going to show up good because I'm halfway zoomed now. But we'll zoom in on the turntable, and we'll look over here at the corner. The rails aren't lined up right now, even though I just zeroed it. Zero isn't meaning lining up any rails. All that zero means is that I'm teaching the turntable where the starting sensor is. And now at this point, if I bump the start button that points to the right, it'll find that track real quick and it lines itself up. Now when it lines itself up, it's going to go part way past the stall that you're aiming for, probably about half the stall, and then it's going to come back. It'll come back slower than it went past it, and then it lines itself up, which it just did. Okay, so let me back this up a little bit here and get you a better view of the whole thing. So what we're going to do while we're programming, we're going to do the stall on this side, and then we're going to program one on this side. And it's real easy and nice. If they both line up, you only have to program it once. I have a situation where I can show you real quick here. My track 4, and see, most of these, like this one, if I line it up here, it automatically lines up with 11. Most of those work that way. But because there's a space between the building here, you'll notice here, I don't know if you can see it, it isn't lined up for any track, yet it did line up for this one. That's probably poor planning on my point, but we did have the width of the wall falling in the middle of that stall, or that space on the board. So in this case, you would program this, and here's where it gets interesting. You got to figure out which one it's going to meet for. Is it going to line up with this one first or this one? Because they're out of sync on my layout. And the turntable's already programmed, so it's going to stop. See, it did not line up for this one, but it did this one. So you're going to program one on one side, the side of the turntable you start with. If it lines up with that one on that side, great. Then go on to the next. If it doesn't, like when let me go back. When I programmed it to line up with this one, okay, I noticed that it didn't really line up with this one. So I'm going to program this spot, and then I'm going to bring it ahead, and I'm going to line it up, and I'm going to program it for this spot. So if they don't line up, you do one end, then the other end. And then you go on. If they do line up, you just keep working around the turntable. So you're going to do a complete 360, and then when you get it done so that that end of the bridge has done all the tracks, you're going to do the same thing with the operator shed side. Okay, now how do you program it for a specific track? Using the left and right arrow keys, you're going to We're going to use a track that I didn't program, and I'll show you here in a second. Let me get the turntable over there. I have a track that isn't used. It's got a diesel on it, but it was supposed to be a wheel track, so it never got power, nor did it have plans to. We just put a locomotive on it that's not DCC. Uh-oh, I might have hit a piece of dirt here. Haha, I might be in trouble. Let's see if that came out of alignment. It did. No. Oh, see that lift up? There's a piece of dirt in our track. Okay. Yeah, it's hitting a piece of dirt right now. So, in order to clean it, which I've got to do, I'm going to move it between the stalls. Once I start the button going towards the jam, and just before it jams, I'm going to hit the button that makes it go the other direction, and that will stop the turntable rotating right there. Alright, now I'm going to clean that wheel, and then I'm going to have to center it again. Alright, let's see if we can find the piece of dirt. I'm going to put my fingers down here, see if I feel anything in the gear. No, because usually I have found that the dirt winds up in here somewhere. It'll be one of these gears. Now I'm gently dragging my screwdriver through the gear, and I'm surely hoping not to spin it. Oh, there it is right there. I don't know if I get that close enough to the camera. There's a little piece of ballast on the end of that. Hopefully that was it. We'll find out in a minute, because I got to zero it again. Alright, so it's in. I'm going to hold down the 0 key. Lights blinking, and off it goes to 0. Alright, so I don't want you to sit through me zeroing it out again. Oh, look, we got that quick. Let's find out if we got it right. Hey, we got lucky. Usually it's got to do that 360 turn to 0. Now I'll go back here and see if it'll stop for track 7. And it did. So we did get the dirt out. Alright. So what we're going to do is I'm going to stop the camera, readjust it, so you can see how you line it up. It's a shame I can't show two things at once. But, alright, let's get the camera aligned here for you. Here we are. We're going to align these 6 tracks. Now you can see that it's nowhere aligned. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push the right button to start it moving. It should move towards me. And then I'm going to push the left button as soon as I think it's lined up. We'll see how easily this goes. And you can see I was too slow. Pushing the right button again. Left button to stop it. Left button to make it go again. How close? Wow, that's not closer, but so push right button. Yep, too quickly. That's kind of close, but I'm still off. We need it much closer than that. And that still isn't good. Oh, all right. We are real close, but I can still see it's off a little. Darn it. There, did we get it? Yeah, we got it there. Wow, that took a little bit of work. Okay, now that I've got that one lined up, let me get my prop out of the way here that was holding the phone so you could see. We'll look at the track on the other side. It's totally missing tracks, but that's okay because this is going to be just programmed for that one. Now, if you come over here and you look at the controller, this light would indicate if it was a programmed spot. This light indicates power right now. So, what I do is I hold my set button until that light comes on, let go. Okay, now see it didn't take? I wondered if that might happen. Usually if you hold this, it'll take. It'll lock up and it'll turn red. What this means is it is too close to a spot that's already pre-programmed. Now, the way you avoid this is the pattern in which you record your tracks into the device. For me, I started here, recorded this one, I looked at that end, yeah, it lined up, so now I'm good. And I go from here to the next one, record that spot, look to see if that one lined up, and I kept working until I found one that didn't. If I found it didn't, and the one on this side needed a little bit of adjustment, or was, say, just past it a little bit, I would record this one next before going on. And then you continue through them. And then once you've done this side, you do the same for that side. You bring it over here and you record it for each track going through. Now what happens is if you get them too close together, it won't record like it's doing now. It's saying, I just don't think so. See, I'm pushing the button, it blinks, and it won't record. And what it means is, it's having a fit about number 7 over there, track number 7. That's where it's having a problem. But we'll use my next stall here as... Now, what we're going to think is, the other thing I want to show you is, what happens if you get one that's recorded, but all of a sudden it's off. Tracks tend to shift a little bit, and that does happen. All the others may still line up perfectly, but this one is off. So what you will do is, again, we'll come back to our pad, and you will push the set button until that top red light goes out. Okay, now it's no longer recorded. That position on the turntable has been erased from memory. I'm not going to actually change it, but this is where you would use the left and right button to adjust to make sure this end lines up good, then that end. And once it's done, you simply come down here, push the set button until that light comes back on, and there, now it's recorded again. In a sense, that's how it's done. I hope this is making things a little clearer. Now we'll try, I'm going to move it to the next spot. You'll see the turntable will go past a little bit, there it is, and then it comes back and it locks up. Now, we can look and we see that it knows that it's in a memorized position, so it's locked up and it's good to go. Hopefully this video has helped you programming it. I know it's a pain in the butt. Just remember, you're going to do it in order, not the way they said. You're going to start with one end of the turntable. In this case, I started with the non-operator shack side. I went to my first stall, I recorded it. I looked, oh, it lined up perfectly with the other side, so I can go to the next stall. If I have a stall on either side that doesn't line up, I look and see which one comes first. Which one will the turntable hit first? Will it hit number 2 or will it hit number 10? If it hits on this side first, I line it up next, and then this one. And then I keep going in this pattern until I get them all. Once I've done that, I do the same. I bring the turntable operator shed around to this side, and I start recording all of them in a row. Again, if you get one that's bad, all you have to do is, once you get the turntable in the bad spot, you push the set button till the light blinks. That erases it from memory. Then you would use the two turning buttons to adjust the rails till they lined up. We're good. And we would check the other side. Yeah, we're good. So then we would come back and hold the set button. Yeah, and now it's back in memory. Now the reason you do the pattern that I did is because where we tried to originally program this track, it was between two, and it's also out of pattern. It didn't go in order, and the controller seems to have slots of memory that it can put things in. And suddenly it realized that it had already had this track programmed, the next one through, and it went to the last one on this side. Adding another one messes it up. That's not a good definition, but hopefully this will help you. Remember, keep that turntable pit clean. If you have any questions, leave me a comment in the video at the end. I hope this helps you. I know it's a complicated subject. If you had the DCC version, you have to let me know how easy that was to set up. If you have this version, which I think is much better, because you don't have to switch back from DCC channel from one to the other to run it. You just simply use the arrow key to move. I'm holding the button down, it gets almost to the stall I want, and I let go. That's the other thing about this. We'll say that we want to go from my roundhouse lead, which is RL, the roundhouse lead, out to the last track. So I push down the left-hand button. There it goes, she starts moving. And I'm still holding it until it gets, the first rail gets past. We're going for the number 5 spot here. Right about there I'll let go. Now it's on its own. It's going to go slightly past and come back. If I want to go back just one stall, push the button once and let go, and it'll find it. Well, here it didn't line up because it was programmed to line up with one on this side. So if I hit back again one more time, it will find the next one. Okay, and it doesn't find one on this side. Another thing you're going to have fun with, this is code 80. I had code 100 track that I used, and so I had to file the ends. I have one piece of track that seems to have lifted up, so my plan is to cut it out. I've got a small piece of code 80, and from the fine folks at Model Railroad Magazine, I learned how to join code 80 to code 100 track real easy. You slip a rail connector onto the code 100 track, and the part that still sticks out where you would normally slide this in, you squish that somewhat flat with a pair of needle nose pliers. And then when you connect it to it, you just lay this rail on top of the squished part and not into it and solder it there. And it'll actually hold it at the right height. Kind of a neat thing. I have one track that I have to cut back and put this critter in, or half of it, because it's got quite a bump. So, well, I hope this has helped you.